Hello and welcome to Charge Talk 4630. I'm Stacey, and joining me today is my partner, Kyle D. And we thank you for joining us today. If this is your first time here, I'm happy you joined us, and it would be great if you decided to join our community. Thank you to everyone that subscribed and continue to help us grow. And for the ones that haven't, I would appreciate before you exit this podcast that you do so. This way you'll be notified whenever we go live or release the latest content. You can also hear us wherever you get your podcasts. And last, please go to your browser and check out more Chargers content from some great writers, along with myself on stormcloud.blog, which is run by our very own Cal D, sitting right here with us. Cal, how you doing, man?
I'm doing great, Stacey. How you doing this morning?
I'm doing great, man. Been a crazy week for you. I know you've been really busy. I've been busy. How's the baby girl?
Baby girl took her first trip to Vegas this weekend, so all was well, man.
Oh, wow.
I don't know if I told you this, Stacey, but my mom and my stepfather eloped in Vegas 30 years ago around this time. So my siblings and I, they didn't bring their family with them, right? They just eloped on their own, didn't tell anybody, just went and did it, and have had 30 years of an amazing, beautiful marriage. So my siblings and I, to celebrate them, surprised them with a trip to Vegas this weekend.
Oh, how nice. Yeah.
And invited the whole family to come and scheduled an appointment to have their vows renewed. So they had no idea it was coming. We just had a really fun family weekend. Brought the baby girl with us. She was a rock star. So we're good, man. It was a rush. I didn't get a lot of sleep. I came back with a cold because I was just putting my body through the ringer, but we had a great time, man.
Wow, that's good. What a surprise that was, man.
Oh, they were crying. Like my mom was crying the whole time. It was so sweet, but we had a great time. Yeah. It was awesome.
Oh, that's good. All right, we're going to jump right into this thing. I know against the Broncos in particular, the Chargers running back J.K. Dobbins is turning out to be as good as advertised. The more I see him play and the more I hear his interviews, he becoming one of my favorite Chargers. He's always smiling, appears to be happy, but a confident guy. He tells the media all the time, I know you guys was worried about freak injuries I had in the past, but I'm going to show all of you. Just wait and see. He always says that. So I've been watching, and he's been impressive to me out the gate. Against Denver, he had 25 carries and 96 yards, and got a nose for the end zone too, and you got a good distribution from the receivers, like in particular rookie Lad McConkey. He's starting to see his role increase. I think Quentin Johnson is starting to find his groove in his offense. He's hard to bring down and gave some punishing stiff arms in that game against Denver. The defense, it just continues to get better each week, and at times it shows how dominant they could be. I always bring up Jesse Minter, who's doing an unbelievably amazing job with this defense, which last year under Staley was on the bottom of every statistical category. But right now, the Chargers defense is leading the league in most points scored. It is top 10 in a lot of critical areas on defense. The mentality appears to have turned around pretty quickly, as none of us should be surprised. And this is a team that's ascending. Denver was a top team in their own right. I had a lot of people call me and tell me, it was just Denver. They're not a top team. Denver had a 3-game winning streak. They were hot, and Bo Nix has been surprisingly good this year. And last night, with a big win against the Saints, which they showed a balanced attack with Bo Nix passing for like 164 yards. He had another 75 yards rushing. But in the game against the Chargers, he went into the locker room at halftime with just 22 yards passing. You had chaos going on in that game from the start. Players from both teams going in and out with injuries. Even Coach Harbaugh was in the blue tent and had to go to the locker room to deal with a health condition. And thank God he was okay. But through all the chaos, these players were on the field. They were balling out. And these guys were out there just playing their tails off. So, Kyle, yes, there are still some areas for concern. But in particular, the injuries are starting to mount. But it's a whole lot to like about this team.
Absolutely, Stacey. And if you're trying to downplay a win with this team because there's a rookie quarterback behind the helm or something like that, how long have you been a fan, man?
Right.
Because, it's been a big trend of the Chargers to play down to their opponent and to let these first-time quarterbacks or backup quarterbacks come in and dictate a game and the pace of a game and actually have one of their best performances against us. And it's very clear that that's not going to be the case with this team. We talked about it with, I think, the Raiders. And one of our other wins, I forget which one off the top. I think the Panthers, we said the same thing. It's like, hey,
Yeah.
there's games on your schedule that you can look at and say, yeah, we should win this game. Personally, I
Right.
think we have one this week. But that's never been the case with the Chargers. We'd always play down to our opponent, keep
Yes.
guys around, and let
Yes.
them hang in there and take us at the end. It's great to see the boys not do that under this regime.
Yes.
So,
Absolutely.
hey, what was great about that game, like you said, the distribution was incredible. I really think I'm wondering, Stacey, and you tell me what you think, but
Mhm.
what the impact of Kamani Vidal might be as a receiving threat out of the backfield for Justin Herbert to always have Austin Eckler as his check down. He hasn't
Yeah.
had that
Yeah.
usual tight end safety
Yeah.
net that a lot of young quarterbacks have. He's
Yeah.
kind of had a rotating carousel of tight ends, and they haven't been the most reliable pass catchers, route
Yeah.
runners.
Yeah.
But now you have Vidal run that wheel route, catch it on his fingertips. He's looking like a young, spry Austin Eckler.
Yeah.
Not obviously, he's more of a traditional running back as well, but just having that pass catching ability might
Yeah.
open Justin up a little bit. I'm excited to see that. What do you think?
Yeah. I mean, he remind me a lot of Maurice Jones-Drew. He's stout
Okay.
on the bottom. He's short. He's a lot faster than you think he is. He's strong. He can run through the tackles, and he bring a total different element, right, to this offense that we haven't had since Austin Eckler. But when
Mhm.
you look at Gus Edwards bought here to block a little bit and to be a third and short kind of guy, 3rd and 1, 3rd and 2, get those tough short yards. And he, for some reason, it just wasn't working out. It's always like he was running into a wall, and I don't know if it was the blocking schemes or whatever, but Kamani have a lot of different elements to his game that defenses have to worry about now, because he could run between the tackles, he could line up in the eye. I mean, he could go on the outside, line up as a receiver. You can hit him on screens. This guy is good. His hands is good. He had good speed, good power. They got Justin Herbert involved often, a lot in the first half. I liked it. The only thing I'm worried about is we still having a tale of two halves. That's the only. I love the first half, but then the second half looked totally opposite, and it just seemed like it's been that way since the start of the season.
Yeah, and when you if you're wondering, fans are wondering, well, what's Vidal's role when JK's playing so well? And JK's been great, and Stacey, Gus Edwards still might have had a better trajectory if not for JK's ascension. In my mind, JK's done so well that Gus Edwards is one of those backs that he's not as dynamic. He's one of those that's going to beat you up over the course of a game, be more of a
Yeah,
workhorse guy, and will probably start ripping off some bigger ones with the more usage he gets, just because he's such a punishing type back.
yeah,
But the Chargers, have been able to ride JK instead, and JK has been incredible. So he's
yeah,
getting the flowers, man. He's getting the opportunities. He's getting the flowers.
yes,
He's taking care of business. Now that Vidal's stepping up as well, it'll be interesting to see if when Gus comes back, if they use him as that battering ram again, like you were saying, because it doesn't seem like they really need to. JK's running very well. He's running powerfully. Running with he's running really decisively and
yeah,
reading the defense as well, reading his blocking well. And in terms of what Vidal brings, I mean, you couldn't have a clearer example when I forget which game it was, but Justin Herbert hit JK on a wheel route, and it was that perfect pass. JK
yes,
just dropped it right out of his hands.
yeah,
Maybe he's not the best receiving back, but between the tackles, outside the tackles, toting that rock, the guy's been incredible. So you can let Vidal be more of that receiving guy. Let him be your third down back. And, when Gus comes back, we'll figure out something for him. He might be kind of like a short yardage goal line specialist, and that's okay. But I want to see what Vidal can do and what having that receiving back like an Austin Eckler can do for Herbert's comfort in this offense. And we'll see if that paired with you got the underneath guy, maybe Chart comes in and you got the deep guy, and now the intermediate routes all open up because there's so many different things to account for and so many different ways for Herbert to spin that thing. So we'll see.
yeah. I was actually at that game. That was in Kansas City when he dropped that
Okay.
pass. It was really good coverage, and the defender did a good job of using the sideline to help. And it would have been a great catch had he caught it,
Mm-hmm.
But I was very impressed in the first half. I was worried about Denver. Denver was ascending. They have a top defense, I know that their Surtain went down, unfortunately, with the concussion early after tackle on Lad McConkey. But that defense is good, a good sound defense from the front end all the way to the back end. And the way they were manhandled, I'm going to tell you, listen, and I talked about this earlier in the week. I've never seen a game where the defensive line dominated the offensive line so bad the whole game. And I mean, you don't see it in the numbers because they should have had about 10 sacks. Every time they hiked the ball, they were pushing the offensive line of the Broncos into the backfield, and it worked. The first half was good, but then when the second half came, they just wasn't getting there. They were just missing, whether it's Thule or Khalil Mack or Bud Dupree. But the pressure, man, sometimes pressure is better than just sacks because they made him think fast. They made him have to make quick decisions. If they could just do this consistently now for 4 quarters, I think teams will have a lot to worry about with the Chargers. Right now, it's half and half. When they put it all together for 4 quarters, this is going to be a hard team to deal with.
Yeah, and Nix was doing that same thing last night. He's not an easy guy to bring down. His escapability is insane. Sometimes his throws after that are a little questionable, but the guy was balling out last night, man.
They transitioned over to Arizona. Kyle Murray present that same type of element with escaping. What do you think about them?
Man, I don't want to talk trash on Kyler Murray because, then it all comes back to you. But there's something about, I'm just going to say it, Stacey. I mean, I always joke, like, I can't bet on him or pick up people in fantasy on Kyler Murray because he's dynamic, he's explosive, he's fun. But when it's bad with Kyler, it goes bad quick, and it's rough to watch. Like when he's scrambling around, man, I call him like he kind of looks like a toddler that grabbed his parents' phone and is playing keep away. Like just the way he runs, his feet move so quick, and he's just a smaller stature guy. I really admire his athletic ability, but the way I have pulled my hair out watching him play because when a defense gets to him, they get to him in a big way. So I wonder, I don't know if he'll be a much more dynamic. I shouldn't say that. He should be a more dynamic threat than Bo Nix, but Bo Nix surprised me with his ability to get away from the sack and extend plays. Kyler has that same potential, but if that pass rush gets to Kyler, I think he's going to mentally just kind of, I don't think it's going to be good for him.
All right, well, don't jinx us then.
I can't, I won't go too hard on it, man, but because like we know if he can buy some time, and if Marvin Harrison Jr. does play, that's going to be their path to victory. It's very easy to see with our injuries in the defensive backfield. That's a very clear route for them to take. I don't think it'll be them beating us on the ground. I'd be surprised if Kyler has a ton of success again, even running the ball himself, scrambling and running with how great our pass rush has been. I think that's going to be the matchup, and it's a lazy take because Marvin Harrison's so great and it's obvious, but
that's got to be
it.
In concussion protocol, so I don't know if he's going to play or not, but and he struggled a little bit as Kyler struggled, but his overall game, I'm not overly concerned, and I'm not trying to jinx myself or anything. I know we have our issues too, but I'm not overly concerned about the Arizona Cardinals. I was just in particular pointing out the fact that Bo Nix did a fantastic job of escaping a pocket that constantly was collapsing the entire game. And he did a better job than I thought he was. I mean, when you talk about Bud Dupree and Thule and Morgan Fox and Khalil Mack, even Derwin James blitzed off the corner and had him, and I'm like, what did this guy got oil on his jersey or something that he just slipping right between their hands? And I know that Kyler Murray, when the pocket collapsed, he may not be as dynamic as Bo Nix is, but he have that escapability as well. And I know that Jesse Minter, they're probably gonna look at the film, probably say, man, we should have set a record with sacks in this game, the way we let this guy just get out our grass. So I'm sure they looking at Arizona and looking at Kyle Murray and know, well, we can't let that happen again, because this guy have some of those same traits that Bo Nix had, and I don't expect them to have that problem. If I worry about anything, it's getting on the same page offensively with the receivers and Herbert and with the blocking. The defense, I don't worry about it. Jesse Minter has proven to me that he's one of those dudes. I'm actually kind of worried that we might lose him at the end of the year, because if this continues what he's doing, someone going to come at him and say, I want you to be my coach and bring that philosophy that you taught over there here. So that's the only thing I'm worried about on the defensive side.
Absolutely. And it's kind of why you want Greg Roman to do so well with this team, and for Greg to figure it out, because there's no worry about Greg ever being a head coach again, at least in my mind. He's had that chance. He's, he's almost like a Spags over at the Chiefs. The best thing you can have on your team is an exceptional coordinator that has flamed out as a head coach multiple times. So teams are kind of over it. They don't want to try him out again. So he's going to be there and safe, and you'll have that consistency. That's the Chiefs' superpower, that doesn't get talked about enough. If Roman were to develop into that, that'd be great. I know people right now are like, no, that's not going to happen, Kyle. We've seen enough of Greg, but I still want to believe in the guy. It's a short sample size that we have so far. And maybe with a little bit more development of our offensive line, another weapon or two in the receiving room and the tight end room, things start, working out a little bit better for the offense in the long run. But I'm with you. Losing Jesse Minter would be a huge, huge bummer, a problem. You got to wonder if they're already looking at who's going to be that next guy, whether it's next year or the year after. Because, if it's not this year, Stacey, I think some teams shy away from that 1 year boom. But it's good. It's good. It'll be the next year or the year after. It'll be soon. He's not going to be the offensive coordinator forever.
Looking at Arizona, man, they so up and down. They're a hard team to predict. They played the 49ers starting off the season. They played a tough game against the Buffalo Bills, and the Bills end up beating them 34-28. But then the next week they got blew out by the Rams 41-10 at home in their home opener. And then the next week they fought down to the wire against Detroit Lions, and Detroit won 2013. And then after that they went back home and got blown out by the Washington Commanders 42-14, but then pulled out a victory against the 49ers in San Francisco, and then get blown out again by the Packers. So they're a hard team to figure out. I know they're definitely last in pass rush, so they don't get no pressure on the quarterback. So this is a game that if it was a couple of years ago, I would be worried that we would go in Arizona and blow it. But with this new regime and with Harbaugh and Jesse Minter, I know that they're going to go and they're going to take care of business. It's going to be no letdown and no overlooking, like people like to say, you were looking past them at your next opponent. That's not going to happen under Jim Harbaugh coach team. So I expect them to go win. And this is the game that I expect to see a consistent 4 quarters of good football, not a quarter and a half. Because unfortunately, when I said I have some concerns, we haven't scored a touchdown in the second half at any game this year at all. So it's a concern. Like Greg Roman, you guys got to get that together. You know what I mean? You can't keep going that rate. Yeah, it's impressive in the beginning, and we see a lot of creative play calling, and man, we see that catch with Fihoko. And I'm starting to see now, when I keep saying, why don't we see Brendan Rice? Fihoko showed some things in that game, man, that I said, you know what? Now I see why he's on that field. He's made he made one of those catches with a receiver all over him. You couldn't play defense better than that. The coverage was excellent. How he pulled that off with one hand, I have no idea. How did Justin put it in that tight window like that? I have no idea. But now I'm starting to see that everything that Fihoko is getting, he's earned it.
I rewatched that clip so many times, and I never even saw the football. Like it was such a dart by Herbert, and it just got right in there. Like it was very hard to track where that went until you saw it from another angle. What do you think with all the rumors this week? Have you shifted at all? I watched your video yesterday on Mike Williams possibly being a trade target.
Yes.
Are you still feeling that way where you don't want them to trade for him, but would consider picking him up if they release him?
Yeah, well, I would. I don't think he hurts the team by coming over. I know that things haven't worked out with the Jets, but we know what Mike Williams has done with us. We know what he's did as a Charger. He's a playmaker. I mean, he had his injuries too, but when Mike Williams was on the field, Justin Herbert loved going to Mike Williams. He was great in the red zone with that fade in the corner. He was great when Justin needed somebody, he needed a jump ball. He'll put it up in the air where Mike will be the only one to come down and get it. That's an element that we haven't had since him and Keenan was gone. We got a lot of small receivers, and he's a big-bodied receiver that knows how to get open, and he'll fight for the ball. I know that in 2012, the 49ers under Jim Harbaugh had Randy Moss. And he played all 16 games, and he was very frustrated because he only had like 28 catches for 300-something yards and 2 touchdowns. But he was asked to play a different role under Jim Harbaugh. All that winging around, and you get 90 catches. He asked him to block more. And I think that would have to be the case. When I said reduced role, Mike Williams will come in not believing that I'm going to get like 75 catches and I'm going to get 1,000. That doesn't appear the type of offense that Greg Roman and Jim Harbaugh wants to run. So if he accepts that, I would love to have Mike Williams back.
Yeah, no, it's a great point. And bringing up Moss, man, that's a good reference, man. I thought SF was at the end of his career because New England was after the Raiders. He got traded from the Raiders over to New England.
He went from San Fran to the Raiders 1 year and then went to New England under Tom. And then that's when he revived his career, because most people, because he didn't have the numbers in San Fran and in Oakland, most people thought that he was done for his career, but he had 2 great years with New England.
What do you think, Stacey, about what's going on? Let's chat before we go. Let's chat real quick about the division, man. What do you think about what's going on in Las Vegas? Tom Telesco, one of a rare.
You're trying to make Raider fans come at me again, because they have come at me in the chat. Sometime I'll go on and see what people were saying in the chat room.
Yeah,
and you got some random Raider fans that will come in every once in a while, let me know they heard what I said, they didn't like it, So I've been, and then one of my best friends is a Raider fan, so I don't like to. But look, it's the Raiders, man. It's the Raiders. This is what they do. This is what they do. They always an organization in turmoil. Even when they think they got it right, they got it wrong. When they had John Gruden, they thought they had it right, they had it wrong. You get Devontae over there with Derek Carr, and they still, you had what was the running back name? They had that left.
Josh Jacobs.
Yes, Josh Jacobs. They had it, man. The Raiders be having weapons, tight ends, wide receivers, good running game. They play physical. But it's like some kind of curse over that organization, because right now they're in turmoil right now, and from what I'm hearing, I don't know if it's just a rumor. I don't know if it's true, but, I be reading clips here and there. They're saying Max Crosby is not happy being there and he wants out. And now you got Tom Telesco there. Isn't that kind of weird that he was with the Chargers and we were chaotic the last couple of years under Staley? Now he's over there and look at what's happening. But I'm not going to say anything else because, me and the Raider fans are doing okay with each other right now.
I feel for him, man, because we went through that with, like you said, with Tom. And if they want to improve that team, they do not have the general manager to do it. We've seen it. Like, how much did we ever really progress as an organization under Tom? We just kind of stayed the same, maintained. We had a couple blip years where we did really well, but we had the same issue, just having issues with depth and not really churning the bottom of the roster enough. We had a great start, starting 22, but beyond that, it was always, we were always a couple injuries away from just having our season just crash. And that's what they look like right now.
They do.
It's brutal. And I saw one Raider fan was losing it on social media because because I guess we let go of like Blake Lynch or something. And Tom went and picked them up. And was like, I think Blake Lynch.
Okay.
And he's like, we don't need a special teams linebacker. We need a linebacker. And, Devin White's out there to go grab him. But
Yeah.
Tom's doing his thing, grabbing the guys he's familiar with. And
Yep. Yep.
I'm glad we are in a new phase of our fandom because
Right.
my
Right.
heart couldn't handle that anymore, man.
Me neither. Me neither. It's better doing the podcast this year than it was last year. I can tell you that.
I'm excited for this trade deadline. We might actually get a player or two. We never had
I
that
think
with
we
Tommy.
will. I think we will. And I think the biggest change between Tom and Joe Ortiz is this. Tom, it was a no-brainer. He hit on the first round picks. And how could you not? If we were up there in the top 10, everybody had their top 10 projected, whether it was Mel Kipers or any of those guys. So it was hard to miss on one of those. So he always hit with those guys. But after that, all the other picks were reaches, and we are a team that always had injuries all the time and didn't have no depth. So if guys go down on the starting front, we were done. Under Joe Ortiz, he's built so much depth. Just think about it. We have a lot of injuries, man. We've had it on offense every week, and we've had them on defense. And we've been kept afloat because of the depth that we have. We really don't appreciate the job that Joe Ortiz had. We lost both tackles against Kansas City. We should have won that game. You didn't hear anything about Salyer, that was the left tackle. You didn't hear anything about Pipkins, that was the right tackle. You know why? Because they did a fantastic job. It was the guards that don't play well without Alt and without Slater. But other than that, the problem was in between. The problem wasn't off the edges. He's done a great job of building depth in these different pieces. And whether it's on when Derwin James was out, we still had guys making plays, whether it was Alohi Gilman or Molden has been big for us. You know what I mean? Josiah Taylor, too. I'll be glad when he come back. He's a good tackler. But I'm saying we've had our share injuries just like we do every year. But the only difference this time is the depth pieces that was brought in is stepping up.
Yeah, absolutely. Because they didn't stop. They went and traded for Molden at late. So that is such an exciting thing to see. We're entering that time of the year where some teams are figuring out, this isn't our year. We might have to sell off some pieces, and you're already seeing it with the Browns.
Bring it on.
With some other teams. So let's go bargain hopping, man. All that means, dude, is guys are on sale right now. You got players that are on sale at a discounted value, and now we have an opportunity to get them. So fingers crossed.
We hadn't seen each other in a while.
I know
you've been very busy, light stuff, but I get it. But it was good to have you back, man. And maybe we could get together Monday and talk about this game. And I'm sure it'll be a happy recap. And before we go, do you want to talk to the people about stormcloud.blog?
Yeah.
I'm always talking to them about it, trying to get more traffic there. A lot of people had told me I didn't know anything about it. So I try to announce it and put it in this podcast all the time. So anything that you want to talk to them about Stormcloud, do so.
You got it. Stormcloud.blog is a site. I got it written under my name down there. And it's basically an online content community for a group of podcasters, yourself included. We got the Thunder Down Under guys that post on there as well. And eventually my buddy Ryan Watkins and our podcast has been on hold for a bit, but we'll be launching that soon. We just had we invested a little bit in some graphics and marketing stuff, and it's just taken a while to get it back. But we want to create a space for Charger fans to talk about things on kind of like not just surface level, but kind of deep dives into some analytical stuff, scheme work. Ryan's really good at drawing up the defensive schemes and explaining to people what Jesse Minter is trying to do to opposing offenses. He does the same thing with Greg Roman's scheme, and can coach people through that as well. But his background was on the defensive side of the ball, so that's what he really enjoys talking about. I like approaching things with my articles. I do both the podcasting and I try to write on there quite a bit. And I really like explaining roster management to everybody and going over what Joe Ortiz is trying to do. Talked about the financial implications of Mike Williams, of a Mike Williams trade this week. Next week, we'll probably be targeting possible trade deadline targets for us to go over. But anything that you want to chat about Chargers wise from a kind of like a a deep dive or just, a place to go chat Chargers football. It's just a place for content creators, writers, and fans to come together and start great conversations. So definitely give it a look. It's still very new. I started the site and kind of built it, and that's new for me. So it's going to continue growing as we go along. But yeah, come join us, stormcloud.blog.
It's great, man. I'm happy to be aboard. And we have some very interesting conversations, and people are very engaged with the articles from the different writers on there. So I like it. And I think you guys will like it too if you looking for more content, and you can come in the things that me and Kyle talk about here on this podcast. We dive a little deeper into it in the articles on stormcloud.blog. So looking forward to you guys coming along and joining us on there. So that'll do it for this episode. Thanks for joining us here on Chargers Talk 4630. Thank you, Kyle. Please don't forget to log on to stormcloud.blog if you're looking for more Chargers content. We'll be back next week to discuss the recap from the Chargers-Arizona game on Monday, maybe. If you haven't subscribed yet, please do that now before exiting this podcast. And as always, be good, be safe, be well, enjoy your weekend, and bolt up.